Hello and welcome to At Home with Mindy. Today we're going to make banana and coconut buns, a bit like a fairy cake. I've already weighed out all my ingredients. We have 140 grams of plain flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 55 grams of butter, 170 grams of caster sugar, 1 egg. We've got vanilla essence, but I don't actually have that, so that's salted caramel flavour. I've got 2 bananas that I'll mash up, 85 mils of milk, and then 55 grams of coconut. But this recipe did say to use nuts, but I haven't got nuts, so I'm using coconuts instead. So let's get started. Got to cream the butter and the sugar together. Just start softening the butter first. This is actually margarine, but margarine butter, as long as it's one of the hard ones, it normally works quite well. Then we add the sugar. It seems like a lot of sugar, but this is supposed to be a healthier recipe, so it's not using a lot of butter. That to me looks very dry, so it's got to be because of the lack of butter. But hopefully it'll all hold together. And the main reason we're doing this is because I brought a load of bananas, you know, the ones that you get in the pre-bagged, and Tesco's reduced them to 24p, and my daughter's eaten quite a few, but they're starting to get overripe now, and the brown spots on the skin, so I thought we'd make them into cakes. I think that's probably the best I'm going to get from this amount of butter. Just put it on its side a minute. Yeah, I don't think it's going to cream together that well. Then it says to add an egg, which I haven't cracked yet, so let's have it. I'm hoping you can still see all me because I'm using a different camera angle. I've got the tripod on the worktop. Otherwise I tend to kick the legs on the tripod. Right, then we'll have to beat in the egg. And mine's salted caramel flavouring, but that's a teaspoon of that. That's creamed together quite nicely. Right, then we need to mash up the bananas. These are quite large ones, so I'm only using 2. If you've got small ones, you could probably use 3. I think it's more to taste. Right, they're mashed up, so they can go in now. And while you're doing this, you should have had your oven preheating to 100 90 Celsius or 375 Fahrenheit or gas mark 5. Right, then we've got to get our flour, and we're going to mix in the 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Just sort of stir it through. And it says to put a few bits in and then a bit of the milk. Do it a bit at a time. I think we can put a bit more in first. Oh, we should have added the coconut as well, so we better do that. I'm mainly using coconut as well because the Yuki and Connor don't actually like coconut in, they won't eat Bounty bars or anything, but they've not tried it in a cake, so we're gonna give it a go. I've got a funny feeling we don't really need that much milk because it's sloppy. And I've put all the flour in without any milk. I don't think the instructions are going to destroy it if we do it slightly wrong. I'm not even sure that needs milk. It looks like a normal sloppy cake, but we'll put a bit in. How much is left over? I really don't think we need the whole thing, so I'm only going to put half of that milk in and see if it works. Because sometimes cooking books are wrong. Yeah, I think if we put any more in, it'll be far too sloppy for a cake. But we're going to use a little fairy tray and some paper cups. Because it also said it does 8 buns, so I don't know what size tray they want you to use, whether it's a muffin tin. But I've got to get a new muffin tin because mine looks quite rusty out there. Plus we don't tend to eat muffins that much, so there's no point in buying a muffin tin if you don't really eat that size cake. I prefer to have small cakes, then you can have 2 throughout the day, not straight away. I like to do little and often. Right, so we'll start with putting 1 big spoon in each. These are the spoons you eat your breakfast with, just so you know what size I'm using. And it also says that these take 20 to 25 minutes to cook. I don't know if that's because when you use all the milk it'll be so sloppy that it needs longer to dry. But I will check them at 20 minutes and see if they need that amount of time. Can definitely smell the salted caramel food flavouring, so that might be a nice thing to try if you've got different sauces at home. Right, we're going to need another tray, but that's what this 12 looks like. And if you put them in the oven, like I said, 190 Celsius, it'll be 20 minutes, and you should preheat your oven first because then your time is so much better. If you forget to preheat your oven, you might have to add on 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. So just keep checking them and stabbing them with a fork. And we'll come back in 20 minutes and we'll see what they look like. Bye. Hello, welcome back to At Home with Mindy. This is after 20 minutes and they haven't risen that well. They've expanded, but you haven't got the nice little peak. But don't forget, we only used half the milk, but to me they do seem, the texture looks a little bit weird. So I might have to give them a few more minutes, but I would actually suggest, if you're going to do this cake, maybe actually do it in a loaf tin, because I don't think the fairy cake types turned out very well. I mean, probably should let them cool down, but yeah, the texture, I don't know, it might be okay. I think it's because, I've just let it, I'm sure they will be fine. We really should let them cool down first. So we'll come back in 5 minutes when they've cooled down. Right, pop back in 5 minutes. Right, it's been another 5 minutes to cool down, but this one made a mess when it fell on top of it. It did make, what's that, 12? It did make 20 cakes, because the one that fell apart I have eaten. So we'll put that one back over there. But this recipe, like I said, I think you need to use it in a tin, because too much of it's sticking to the paper case. See, paper cases, low fat ones don't work. We're still going to eat them, but to me, I think this recipe may have been a disaster. But if you want to give it a try, like I said, use a big tin, because they're still edible, but they're going to look bad in a lunchbox. These are the type that you eat, but you don't let people see that. Don't give them to your guest. But we'll upload the video anyway, because I've made the cakes now, so at least you'll learn from my mistakes. We only used half the milk, I did say at the beginning, so maybe we didn't even need the milk. Maybe we should just try it again. If you make it, just use your own, just use your own judgment on whether it's too sloppy with that amount of milk, because it is very sort of, I don't know, they're quite spun. It's just not the sort of texture I normally get from a fairy cake. But it does taste nice. Yeah, use the recipe, see what you think on the sloppiness. If it looks like it's getting too sloppy, don't add all the milk. Maybe the next recipe will turn out good. So I'll see you next time. Bye.